Hello, and welcome to another review. I'm really sorry these are coming out late. I've been having a lot of things to do and stuff like that. I'm trying my best to catch up, hopefully, so this doesn't really happen anymore. So, yeah, and again, I don't want to waste any of your time. I apologize. So, let's start with Simpsons and Yokel Hero. And this episode wasn't good. I didn't like it. The only saving grace is there's probably a few funny jokes, like Barney thought he was okay. Barney is an Uber driver, and then he thinks he's a customer for Uber, and then he gives Mo 5 stars for getting there on time. I did like the social commentary jabs at CBS All Access and Ellen DeGeneres. They're pretty good. I also like it was. I did like the fourth wall break with Cletus, saying, "Oh, whoa, we're not done with like the episode's not done. We still got 2 more acts, that kind of thing." I also like, and it was also nice to see Al Brooks voice characters. Unfortunately, I wish it was for a better episode. This story's been done so many times. It's so boring and uninteresting. I exactly knew what was going to happen. It's predictable. It's boring. They did the same thing 25 years ago in Colonel Homer, and that was a lot better than this. But yeah, I don't really have anything to say about this. This was a boring episode, It's not worth. It's not, honestly, if you don't want to waste your time on a lot of Simpsons episodes, this one's not worth your time. Trust me, it's not worth your time. Next up, we have Family Guy and PeTerminator. And PeTerminator sees Stewie, have to fight a Peter robot that he creates, to kill Lois when she gives him broccoli. But then, things make a turn, and he has to, survive before the PeTerminator kills him. And Family Guy isn't known for doing a lot of story-driven episodes, but I think when they do, they're always guaranteed me a solid watch. The entire story of this one was interesting. I like the action scenes; they're well animated. The cold open of the show, leading into a spooky, futuristic version of the theme song, was great. Brian and Stewie episodes tend to be very interesting and fun. They tend to be the best, and this is nearly not as close as some of the best ones, but it's still good. The friendship thing is a little overplayed, but it's just a reminder of how strong their bond is. I like, when Family Guy leans more into sci-fi concepts, and this is no exception to that. Most of the jokes don't really work. I did like the reference to Cool Whip, and I did like how the show also referenced 2 other big adult animated shows, Big Mouth and Rick and Morty. But a lot of the episode was just not funny. The main highlight of this is the story. Stewie trying to kiss Brian was flat out gross. Peter's subplot is just a waste of time, him trying to reach a tree. Okay, it wastes 2-3 minutes of him trying to reach a tree, and then he meets a female Peter, and it's just boring. It's not funny. The cutaways were very little, but none of them were good. The episode also just ends with Stewie and Brian kissing. I kind of wish it just showed how they ended up. It just ends there, and I wasn't a fan of that. Maybe they could have did that if they cut Peter trying to reach the tree, and stuff like that. It's a solid episode. It's pretty good. The only thing is, it wasn't really funny. Most of the jokes don't fall, but it was much better than last week. That's for damn sure. So yeah, it's pretty good. Next up, we have Bob's Burgers and An Incon-Wheelie-ent Truth. This episode sees Bob and Linda roaming around the thrift store, and they end up seeing the woolly mammoth, and they tell their kids a lie, and then now they have to solve it because the kids are there with them. And this was a great one. I liked the continuity of bringing back the woolly mammoth. The jokes landed for me. Some of my favorites were, okay, so Bob tells his kids to look into the forest on the right hand side, while Gail and Linda speed past him with the woolly mammoth, and then Bob's saying "Oh, let's talk about sex," and that's probably one of my favorites. This episode was pretty funny. The Paolo Mimo line was also great too. I did like, how the story was going over time. There was a good direction. Gail also provides some great lines too. The only thing I didn't really like about this one was how Gail somehow changed her mood at the end when Linda told her, the lie that her parents, told Gail about the goldfish was immortal, even though they replaced it with a new one every year or so. I kind of didn't like how then she decided to rat Linda out and tell the kids, and then they all turned on her. I thought it was kind of dumb because, Linda went through all this trouble to try to fix it. Shouldn't you drop the lie? But I did like at the end how the kids decided to just drop the lie and leave Willie at the skating rink. I thought that was pretty nice to see. So yeah, this was a great episode. I liked it. Next up, we have Bless the Harts and the Dogchurian Candidate. And, this one sees Mayor Webb try to get reelected for mayor, and it turns out that Betty is managing a dog that runs for mayor against him. Actually, this episode mostly works because of the jokes. The story is pretty basic, but it mostly works because of the jokes. I like Betty's personal vendetta against Mayor Webb. It's just classic her. It's even better when she decides to be the campaign manager for a dog running for mayor against Mayor Webb. I just think it's super silly and funny and just hilariously stupid. And, again, what made the episode for me was also the entire idea of the dog running for mayor. It's just a joke. It's a super silly concept, but it ends up working. And, and Betty's, is not a good person. Sorry, I was kind of mumbling to myself. So, seeing her taking bribes is, fairly expected, but it's kind of enjoyable. They end up firing on her later on. Jenny deciding to go dirty to win is a sign of the show willing to take more risks. Season 1, Jenny was more reserved, but Season 2 isn't afraid to show her more malicious side. I don't know if this counts as character development. I know some people are definitely not a fan of the new Jenny, although I would say that this Jenny is a lot better than Season 1 Jenny, because, Season 1 Jenny was, Season 1 the characters are fine, they're, I still think Jenny's the best character in Season 1, but, I think they're definitely a lot better in this season than they were in the last season, Jenny kidnapping the dog was also a very unexpected twist. I kind of did not see that coming, and I enjoyed that. The change of heart with the phone call is a little bit forced, but, it really had to come out. It's a sitcom. I did like Wayne's joke about wanting only one candidate to run, and then Violet ends up pointing out that was fascism. The Miss Thing references were also on point, Jenny's like, oh, Miss Thing, and then, she pauses and she's like, huh, I heard that's coming back, and then, Mayor Webb says it, and then she's like, oh, it's dead. And I thought it was very funny. Speaking of Mayor Webb, I just liked it when he was eating a 2-piece chicken nuggets. I don't know why, I just thought that was super funny to me. So yeah, and Betty, of course, is, most of this stuff, of course, is more her. It's nice to see that, she's definitely becoming this sort of, trashy character, because, in Season 1, she was kind of, like she kind of didn't know what she wanted to do in terms of things, but Season 2, it's landing a lot more. She's definitely a lot more malicious, and it's really funny to watch. And of course, the show isn't going to be King of the Hill. I've said it so many times, Bless the Hearts is not King of the Hill. It doesn't need to be King of the Hill. King of the Hill is more serious. It's more, I would say it's more calm in its nature, and people might not like Bless the Hearts because it's more silly. Characters like Betty are there while they're not there in King of the Hill. Although you could argue that Peggy is kind of like them too, because Peggy is unlikable, and she does bad things, I guess. But again, Bless the Hearts doesn't need to be King of the Hill. I don't know why people keep comparing it to it. I think if you stop comparing it to King of the Hill, it's a good show in its own right. And again, this episode lands for me mostly for the jokes, but I also like the idea of it, the dog running for mayor. I think you'll have a good time with this one. And finally, we have The Great North and Curl Interrupted Adventure. Even though The Great North has only been out for a month, we've gotten a pretty good idea of the characters in just 5 episodes. And yes, this one does focus a lot on anger, but it also proves that the writers know that Judy should not be a one-dimensional character. And, characters are allowed to have multiple traits. Okay, if they only have one trait, they'd be boring and uninteresting. It's like, okay, Chris is a stupid teenager who only masturbates. He doesn't have any other good qualities. He's boring. He's uninteresting. And, because of how they have multiple traits, these characters are more fleshed out. They're more interesting. I'm willing to look forward to stuff they do. And, as TV viewers, you want to be invested in your characters. And for that, I'm willing to give the unexpected personality change a little bit of a slide. I do think that the plot feel on anger seems to be the main problem, but again, I'm willing to give it a slight slide because of how the writers know that Judy should not be a one-dimensional character. It's nice to see that Beef and Judy continue to expand their dynamics, but I feel the pacing of Judy's character is done a little poorly, which is why I can't fully criticize this, but it was nice, however, seeing them try improv at the end. The subplot was fine, with Wolf trying to make money off turning the family boat into a sunset cruise. It's fine. It's pretty slow. I enjoyed Moon singing. That's pretty much it. Most of it is just fine. I mean, it's not fun, but it's not like super boring either. And I also do like the backgrounds. The backgrounds of the show are great. I don't know why people like to say this show looks ugly. Yeah, I would fully disagree with that. It looks literally like Bob's Burgers, and Bob's Burgers is although I would disagree that Bob's Burgers looked good back then, I'd say it looks pretty nice right now. And, I'm glad that, the Great North at least borrows a pretty nice art style of mine. I really like the sunset background too. That was great. This episode is the weakest of the 5 episodes, even though the pilot was stronger than this too. It's like Bless the Hearts, that Christmas episode is the weakest of them. The pilot is even stronger than that one. But, if this is the Great North at its worst, I'm super excited to see the remaining 7. I think there's 7 episodes left. So, yeah, I'm super excited to see those upcoming 7. Again, I did say last week in my other review that I'm super excited, looking forward to the one about the school dance. I think it could be a really sweet and funny episode. Sure, it's been done in other sitcoms a lot, but it's interesting to see how different characters react and behave in those same situations, and it can really make something kind of different. Okay, if we put, if we had an episode, if we had a 2-parter of Bless the Hearts and a 2-parter of Bob's Burgers, they're different characters, but they can also make different situations, based on their character personalities. And, it's interesting to see that, and even though again it's the same thing, that the effects end up differently. So it's okay to have the same thing, but the difference with this and the difference with The Simpsons is The Simpsons keeps borrowing episodes from the same show with the same characters. It gets boring. But okay, if the Great North might borrow an episode from The Simpsons, borrow an episode premise and tackle it on its own, that I will look forward to watch, because different characters again. Unlike The Simpsons, okay, you have a marriage crisis, okay, and then we have a marriage crisis, but it's in The Simpsons again. It's boring. How many times have we seen a marriage crisis episode on The Simpsons? At least 7, 8. At least, no, not even 7. I'd probably say 20 times. It's boring. Like episodes like the 7-Beer Itch are just so boring and uninteresting, just because of how many times they've done those same dumb plot. I'd be fine if Bob's Burgers even tried it. Even though it doesn't really work for that show, it'd definitely be better than if the Simpsons did it again. That kind of thing. And that's what I mean by shows, like different situations and them all ending up like that. Because I don't want to repeat myself too many times, but I thought this episode was decent. It's not bad, but it's decent. There you go, guys. There are the 5 shows. What I thought. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get caught up. Okay, you had 4 pretty solid episodes, and Simpsons was pretty weak, and I don't think it was good. So anyways, I want to know what you think in the comments down below. And of course, let me know. There's some videos you can check out in the right hand corner. Or as always, I think there's something for everyone on this channel. If you didn't dig this video, you might dig something else. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.